Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Words, Images, and Worlds. Glad to be talking on this episode with comics creator George Gant. George, thank you so much for jumping on and talking with me for a few minutes.
Oh, no worries. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. I enjoy your work. Your website is uh, a welcoming space of many things to enjoy and lots of titles there that we'll talk a little bit about. Um, so what was it about comics that led you into this world initially?
Um, for me, it was um for me, this was kind of like one of those things where I just knew I wanted to do it like from an early age.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like when I was a kid, I came across like a ton of Calvin and Hobbes books,
Yeah,
ton of Bloom County books and just all these comic collections, and it just grabbed my attention. That combined with I'm an 80s baby, so like I grew up in like the 80s and early 90s with all of those things.
same,
So
same.
like so like the TMNT, and it was like a very entertainment focused like era.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we had like TMNT and like Transformers and like Nintendo's around Super Mario and things like that. And I love all those things. Like even before the comics artist, I'm a gamer. But when I discovered like these books, these comic strip collections that I didn't really know about beforehand,
Hmm.
it was just you know like they were really neat. I wasn't the type of kid to go outside and play and things like that. Like I was always like I want to stay in the house and I want to I want to read something or I want to play something. So just having all these books coming to me at one time was just like wow. And shortly after that, I realized that I liked to draw as well.
Yeah,
It kind of all happened at the same time, and it was off to the races from there.
yeah, very cool, very cool. And um, comic strips are it makes sense that they're part of your history because we have Beware of Toddler, and you have a whole section on your site that's dedicated to the comic strips work that you do. So, yeah, what inspires the comic strips, the web comics, all of those pieces that you're sharing out into the world?
Well, it depends on the pieces themselves. Like the Beware Tyler comics are the main driving force behind that was my own experiences as a parent.
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, there's no bones about it. Beware Tyler is based on my own experiences as a stay-at-home parent. And the idea was to have this comic where you have the stay-at-home dad, um, because you don't really see that. It's not really, it's not
Hmm.
like common. Um, at the same time, dealing with a 2-year-old, um, that's like the magic number as far as like children's ages and the things that they do and the things they get into. Like 2-year-olds, like the toddler era is just like I'll put it this way, it is never boring.
I can believe that. I can believe that.
So that's what inspires that one. Other projects can just be inspired by what I'm into at the time, what I'm enjoying at the time.
Hmm.
Um, my freelance projects, just pretty much because I need to eat
Yeah, yeah.
for time to time.
I'm sensing some gamer inspiration in the reset button.
Oh yes, the reset button itself is my personal love letter to gaming.
Nice, nice, yeah.
Um, like a cinephile is to movies, that's what I feel like I am to video games.
Hmm.
Um, and originally, when I first the comic has many different iterations. When I first started, I wanted to do like a Family Guy type thing, just silly stuff all around. Um, Over time, it went to like a family focused thing. into the more video game aspects of things. Like, I don't know if you remember, like, what is it, about 20 years ago, there were all these like video game webcomics, like
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
all across the board, and they were always about, you have two guys playing video games, and the comic was pretty much about that. With the reset button, I wanted it to be about the people inside the game itself,
Yeah, yeah.
the people inside the world, and like, you know, the minutia of video games as an art form, and take that into a different medium,
Hmm.
while at the same time kind of showing off like things in relation to like the history, indirectly relating to like the history of video games as well. I'm not no means a historian, but I know my stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Very cool. Did you start with Atari being an
I
80s and 90s baby?
I started because you know how it is, like when you're like an 80s baby, everything you have is passed over, is passed down to you.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I started with like a Pong machine, and I can honestly say that I've dealt with, Pong machines, Atari, and television, um, NES, and so forth. And outside of like the Sega Saturn, I can say that I've experienced every single one of those console generations.
Nice.
So, dating back to like the Sears Games things, and even now, like whenever like there's like gaming historian videos or whatnot, I like to just read about it or watch them or learn about them or realize that I knew about the stuff that they were already talking about.
Hmm.
Good times.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Very cool. I've seen a couple of comic book like oriented or comic book style histories of video games. So, definitely there's lots there to explore with gaming.
Yeah, eventually I hope to get back into that. I actually had to put it on pause because Beware Tower came around. And I put that on pause, and I had another comic show called On the Grind. Same scenario.
Yeah.
Uh, Personal experiences. This was like my experiences being in the service industry, the retail industry, food service, things like that.
Hmm.
See the customers, you know how they can be,
Yes. Yeah.
and yeah, I wanted to make that into a web comic as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Your books are and your comic strips are colorful and there's an animated kind of style to them. And I'll also mention for people that are listening that a lot of the things that you do, at least in part, they're available on the website. So lots of open access things there to check out if people want to get familiar with your style and see some of your stories and the things that you've worked on.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, so any hat tips to collaborations? I noticed that you have a book or a comic strip on your site that links with a book that I just discovered, and I'm probably going to mispronounce it, but East Nana.
Yes, it's not the Were Spider.
Yeah.
Yes, I was fortunate to draw a book in that series. And with that series, I think my book is the only one tailored towards a more all ages demographic.
Hmm.
Um, and huge honor. And at the same time, that was like the first time I did like a full book in a long time. So that was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I've just made my way through the first volume of that book, so really cool world, really cool world building.
Yeah, that's an excellent series all around. I'm just putting this out there. I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but I would be more than happy to do a follow up.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be very cool. Very cool. So any current titles, any current, I mentioned the website a few times, but upcoming events or upcoming titles or anything like that that you want to share for listeners.
Yeah, so of course I have Beware Toddler. One thing about Beware Toddler that I don't feel like I get out as much as I should is that as of about a year ago, Beware Toddler is part of the King Features family.
Hmm.
So so if you are a Comics Kingdom subscriber, you can read Beware of Toddler there. It's also in a few newspapers. I'm not entirely sure which ones. Um, but it's made its print debut earlier this year. So you can read Tyler there. You can read Tyler on Comics Kingdom, or on my socials at Gant Art or at Beware Tyler. In addition to that, if you are in the UK, I don't know if you're familiar with the Beano magazine.
I've heard that. I've heard of that. Yeah.
Well, I am also a Beano artist.
Very
So
cool.
thank you. I've been doing that for a couple years now. I draw a comic strip called Angel Face Investigates. Um, Fun, kid-friendly, kid-focused comic about a detective.
Nice. Nice.
But those are like my two major things that I've got going on. Events, it's been kind of a quiet year. Um, but if you're in the Midwest, I will be at FanCon in Arlington Heights on I want to say the 16th.
Cool. Very cool.
And that's kind of like the extent of what I've got going on before the winter. But yeah, it's been like a weird, like quiet year for events, but I hope hopefully they'll pick up soon.
Yeah. Yeah. I just discovered East Nana at Heroes Con in Charlotte. So
I
um
really want to go to Heroes Con. I every year I see pictures from Heroes Con, and every year I say I have to do this, and I have not done it yet.
yeah, yeah, I had heard great things, and the great things are true. So, recommend it for sure. Um, I've had a lot of people come on and talk about how Calvin and Hobbes or Garfield inspired them. We have people come on that talk about the superhero books that they discover, Superman and Spider-Man and things of that nature. But just very, very cool that you're giving out into that world of comic strips and because there are a lot of future creators that I'm sure are checking out your work that dig into it and will be exploring it in their future too.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I'm still inspired by this stuff. I'm still inspired by Calvin and Hobbes and things like that. I recently started just like going back and like picking up books of things I wouldn't have picked up when I was younger.
Hmm.
So I just started getting into like Pogo. I picked up Bone not that long ago. Um, I want to dive into some of the Carl Barks Scrooge McDuck books.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's the one that's like my next thing is yes, I've been doing comics and they're all right. Well, how can I make them better? Like the best way I think I should do so is to by studying the things that that appeal to me. And I feel like those books in particular, just the art style in general is most similar to what I want to achieve.
Yeah, yeah.
So fingers crossed, like that I can take these books and I can learn something from it and I can improve my own craft.
Yeah, very cool. And I love that. Well, there are two things you mentioned that I really want to highlight, which is still learning, still growing, still exploring as an artist, but then also as a teacher and somebody that's worked with young kids and older kids too, and people that want to be teachers. I appreciate the all ages intention of your work. It's really a great invitation for young readers.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know where I read this from, but I remember when because my comics weren't always all ages, but I remember seeing a quote that basically went down to someone saying that if you want to like create something, if you want to be funny, like the biggest challenge is to do it clean.
Hmm.
And I mean that's pretty much what the gist was. And I stand by that now. Like I stand by that now is if you really want to get your work out there. If you want it to be, if you want to be considered funny, and your work is set on its own, like I like to challenge myself. Do it clean.
Yeah,
You,
yeah,
you know, you can throw in a couple swear words, and that'll automatically make things funnier. But if you can have that same effect without doing so, then maybe you've got something there.
yeah, yeah. There's definite wisdom there, and yeah, the talent for wit is pretty rare. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything that I missed on the interview that you want to make sure to shout out for folks to check out? Uh,
Not that I can think of. I think that like the Comics Kingdom, like I can't stress it enough. Please check it out on there. I
mhm.
really appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for talking with me a little bit. Glad to share about your work and really appreciate what you do.
Dude, thank you. Likewise, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure, and glad to talk to you anytime.
Oh, of course.